Hi, anyone or no one who's watching or not watching. If you're watching or not watching, I am just saying don't go buy the videos that you might have seen and not wanted to see again. Don't go buy the clothes I wear. Because these videos are super spontaneous and like I'm in my pajamas um, half the time, and when this pops up, and so it's the same clothes a lot of times and are similar or often wash them, wear them, whatever. I don't plan what I wear when I do a video. I don't plan what I um, even look like. Might comb my hair, but might not if it's in the morning when I wake up. But um, as I've talked about before, I wasn't ever sure really why I'm doing this. But it seems to come to an acknowledgement for me that you can't sit at home and have challenges pop up out of nowhere, so that you find out what's lurking inside of your nooks and crannies and things that trigger you, I guess you should say. Trigger something to come out of you that you didn't know was there. So that might be one of the, I know that's a lesson I'm learning um, through these non-dual and no path and direct path studies that I'm doing, and meditations. So I'm noticing that things will pop up, or they have, month after month. Things will keep popping up, and I have to take a look at them. And a lot of times I think, oh, well, I'm done with that. Well, no, I haven't seen it in a deeper way. So things will, for instance, if there's a light fear about something, I shouldn't say. Anyway, there's things that pop up, and it might be a fear from a lack. That's usually the two things that pop up for me. You might not be seeing it as a fear or a lack, so it might be more on the surface. But then as you get deeper and deeper with a circumstance that happened or something that triggered you, you can see you're getting to a deeper root of it when you already thought you may have already done that. Nope, you haven't. So I think that's a blessing. It seems to me, after all of this that I'm learning and experiencing, it seems to me that when I was younger, there were a lot of things I didn't notice and thought that I was a certain way, and I was this and I was that, and I really wasn't. Um, Kind of, youth kind of brings a slight arrogance to it, because um, you expect certain things because you're young, and you you have a certain people are attracted to youth, um, and so you expect that attraction, I suppose. um, you can lack, and it can be hidden more because people may like you or treat you nice or give you attention that covers that part up more in your youth than when you're older. So when you're older, you don't have those little cushions that actually hide things or cover them up so they're not easy to see, or you don't see them at all. So I think that I probably attached more self-worth to myself out of a lack that I felt. And then as I grew up, as I got older, I know that there was one day, because I kind of floated along in my youth, everything, even all the dips and awful things I got myself into, I would come out of very well and fine, and then get myself right back into things. But nonetheless, there was a time when I decided I am going to take responsibility for myself, and that was late in life. And that just turned out to be another set of circumstances. So all of these are the self-identity thing, because then I built an identity. Once I took responsibility for myself, then I built an identity. And now I have to get through that. Go figure. But anyway, so these videos do also help me be honest with myself, because that's what they're about. They're about bringing truth out into the open, and anything that's going on with you hidden, buried, is going on. It's been very enriching for me to find these things out and to lose my resistance, which, by the way, I'm noticing I haven't at all lost, but I want to fight things, but then I just get emotional and cry. Or not cry, but fight that. I'm like, oh wow. So, whatever. But nonetheless, these videos apparently have been very good for me to have to come on and be honest about things in the open, for the benefit of anyone who is listening. And I am a student, and I'm a student of life, and I have felt that the most wonderful help I've been getting lately for getting these things out in the open has been the non-dual, no path, direct way to our true selves. And wow, since I've been doing that, I'm discovering all kinds of things now. It's not a blind discovery. It's not like I'm discovering the same old things over and over again. A little, well, you are getting deeper and deeper, but I can feel the progress that's being made, especially in meditating. Wow, well, I'll get to that. But anyway, I did want to bring that up about the videos themselves, and how it's kind of making me be honest, open, come on and say anytime that I've noticed a thing that's helped me. And it's all from these studies that I've done. I'm doing whatever it takes to the truth of who I am, or Yeah. So, um, from love. So, I used to say also, and I might have said this in the last video, I don't know, but I used to say that, I did. Well, let me go back to another instance. We were talking about arrogance earlier as a younger person, and even, I think, beginning there, but that arrogance thing kind of slips in every now and then. I'm a really big animal lover, and before I actually took responsibility for myself, I ran over a cat that I was deeply in love with, had kittens, and I was taking care of her and her kittens, and they were all in the driveway because I had dogs in the house, and I had a little fence and a little feeders and all these things for all of them. And the mama cat was asleep behind my tire, and my husband kept telling me, you don't have to honk when you go out, because every time I looked to see if she was behind the tire, she never was. She was always with the kittens. Well, this one time I went out there and I said, well, I guess I don't have to honk. I have to go to the dentist. I just said, I guess I don't need to honk. So I backed up and ran over her. That's a sad, sad story. And so I took care of the kittens, and that got me in a mess too, because then I started saving all the kittens in the neighborhood. But nonetheless, the idea here is, when I ran over that, my precious cat, she was gone. No saving her. Nope. I punished myself a lot, years over that. And here was the attitude I had. I said, how could I, as much as I love animals, how could that happen to me? I had this apparent vision that you had this if your heart was good or into it, or I don't know what I had, because spiritually I wasn't doing anything. I believed we are all one, but it was a heady thing, and I had that in my back pocket most of the time because my husband and I didn't speak about spiritual things at all. But I could not ever forgive myself, because it was a punishment. It was like, how could I do that? As much as I love animals, I thought that life would protect me from something like that. Wow. To me, that's kind of arrogant. So, I mean, there was a lesson to be learned there, but the way I took it, I didn't learn anything for years. Until now, am I learning things about what I've done or doing, because those are the things that keep popping up if you never get to the heart of it. So that's important. Because that's how that oneness that I kept believing, not having the experience of, but believing, that's another thing. I I lived on beliefs. I believe this, I believe that. Nothing was in concrete or nothing was experiential. I just had all these beliefs of how life was in its entirety, how life should be, how it all worked out into me that it would be when you die, how life worked, how life operated, how God operated, how whatever. I had just fixed all these little things that made sense to me and just believed a certain way. And I put an identity around myself that I believed that also weren't experiential. It was an identity that protected me from who I really am. So it was an identity that I was actually better than I was. Is what I see now. I didn't see that then because I was very sensitive, had a big heart, and all of that. But as I'm finding now, I fell apart a lot then, or not a lot, I shouldn't say a lot. I was very strong for people. But then, like I said, when I ran over the cat, it was weird. I didn't even react emotionally. I was like a stone wall. I held it in. Years that took for me to face that or look at it even. That was weird. Anyway, so I didn't, there were times that I broke down, and times when you lose everything and you just break down and you start over, and that's good. But then you bring yourself all back to into the same circumstances, different circumstances, but into the same environments that you draw to you. So when I ran over the cat, there was something I needed to look at then that I didn't. And that was my hint, like a pain in the body, or you have these happenings and hints that there's something you need to take a look at. And when you fight it by punishing yourself or hardening your heart or not wanting to look at it, well, that only perpetuates it. So, just recently I found myself snowball. I had done it once before. I used to tell myself that as far as life goes, learning about life, you didn't get any of that at work. You did that on your own from your whatever you're studying or whatever you're thinking about. Your thinking is totally separate from work and home. So I never thought of myself, because I had a boss whom I dearly loved way back when, and she had mentioned at a meeting or something, because our meetings were very intimate and was all women, and we could be, ourselves and open. And she said something about how much you learn about life at work. And when she said that, I was like, I didn't say this now. I wasn't open about that. This is true because I just recognized my thoughts. I was looking at my thoughts going, I was examining my thought at that time and not wanting to share it because it didn't seem nice. But I was thinking, I don't learn anything about life at work. I mean, I learn about, I'm compassionate and passionate about what I do, and compassionate about the kids, and wanting to share anything I can with helping them and caring about them, and or any type of person that you're dealing with in business, or even financial, or just anything. Younger people, older people, whatever. You always want to share. And so when she said that, I don't know why, but that was my response inside myself. Was I thought work was so superficial, as it is. I mean, it's impersonal, and it's I looked at it as shallow. But I'm seeing things different now, because with all these studies and all these pains I'm going through, impersonal can be so impersonal that it is personal. I mean, you care about something without falling apart over it, or it's not about your emotions, it's about your passion and your desire to help or be a part of creating something better, or something, period. Not so much better, it's just creating, seeing what you can create, and sharing. So I have found at work that if you're at home, there's sometimes you're not ever challenged with anything, so you don't really get hit with something that might trigger or cause you to react in a way that you didn't know was there. So at home, you just might not have that happen, or it might happen in a different way that doesn't get to you, or you're so used to it, or whatever. If you're living with someone, or if you're not, you're just you just don't have anything tug or challenge you. So I have found at work a couple of times, actually, but very recent. This one was. That's why I'm on here now. And that's why I haven't probably been on as much as usual. But anyway, contemplating these things. But I had something challenge me at work, and it brought out, I used to say about myself, I've never had a jealous bone in my body, or a competitive bone in my body. Well, recently I have found I have jealousy. From It has to do with a youthful person, and I'm an older person, and I'm not as fast, and there's a hierarchy that my identity has been so wrapped around work. So I've noticed that I think that I have, so many years, so I should this and I should that. Well, that's not true either. My identity isn't work. Where did I get that? I've always been afraid to do life, so when I started working, I must have started working at 15 or whatever. But and I pretty much struggled to be where I am, or at least that's what I thought. I don't know that, because I changed careers late in life, and there's a lot of stories behind all that that I've had to work out, and you surely don't. So I'm not, or whoever's watching, or nobody's watching. It doesn't matter. That's past stuff, but this is fairly recent, and I wanted to bring it up because it has brought up new things that I didn't even know I had. So jealousy is one, because I've never found myself being in a position to be jealous, and I've never wrapped myself. Well, I did. I did make an identity. I had a 25-year service in a job that I did wrap my identity around, but it wasn't just me. It was me and my husband. So I actually wanted out of that identity. But I did. I merged. I would say that I had an identity problem wrapped around work, and so I've done that again, changing careers, and now I've wrapped myself in an identity around what I do. So I'm saying who I am is blah 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 blah. Saying, I have this color hair, this color eyes. My identity is really shallow. So I've had to take a look at that. And I've always thought I was very caring and very deep person. Very caring, yes, very sensitive maybe, but not deep. I think there's a confusion there with sensitivity and being knowing more deeper truths. You can be very caring and very loving and know very little truths, and be working off beliefs and things that are pretty much fantasies. I think circumstances, I think that, experience is the main teacher. But you have to look at it in a deep way. In deepest way. Deep. Yeah, I think that's what life's about, is getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into knowing yourself, to be that oneness with all, just being one with everything, as we all are, but we can't see it because we're buried in all our stuff. So in recognizing these things, I pretty much fell apart for a few minutes. I wasn't happy with myself all day at work, having that trigger me. So that has been on my plate to review in a deeper way. And so it's bringing out that deeper, which I absolutely know from childhood I have the fear and the lack. I very fearful and felt lacking as a child. I'm sure everybody has that to a degree. I had it kind of a big degree, a very large degree. Caused a lot of stuff. I'm sure that's how my circumstances tumbled, was because of those things, that it took me where I went in life. But it did help me build strength, because every time I had to pick myself up, I had to be strong to do that, because there was nobody there to do it for me. Except the last go round, I had a little help. Very late in life, someone picked me up and dusted me off and said, I'm there for you if you need me. Wow, what a gift that was. And I think that was a present from life, because I was trying, and I was even trying to be truthful with myself, but maybe it was very shallowly. And then I thought I felt like I was more into other people than myself. I loved getting into other people and how they felt. And I thought that was learning about myself, which it is, but it wasn't. If that makes any sense. You learn a lot about yourself from others, but you can't really know yourself, because yourself is too close to you. You can't see yourself as a subject object. You can't step outside yourself and look at yourself as other people can look at you and tell you and correct you. I think from my lack and fear and stuff, that I didn't take criticism well. I mean, it would hurt me, instead of me seeing that it was something I needed to look at. I mean, in shallow criticism, where you did this, you did this wrong, or do it right, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I always owned my own mistakes. But as far as, until recently, as far as someone criticizing me as a person, I think that would hurt, and I didn't take that well. But I have a very dear friend that I see, and I don't see her as often as I do. I see her quite often, for her having a family and everything, so she fits me in. It's nice. But she tells me things about, or she will say something about myself, and I'll take it to heart, because I don't feel defensive when she does, but in the past I have. So I think that's just a new thing, where I'm wanting to listen to that. I want to find these things and deal with them. I want to know myself as much as possible. When I leave my skin, I'd like to be as close to home. I'd like to die and still be alive, if that makes any sense to you. I would like to shed my stuff and be as close to home as I can before I go home. Whatever you take that as. So, lately, dealing with all the jealousy, this, that, and the other. I don't even know. I've done a lot of meditation. this weekend, and that has been, I don't even know what to say. I had a practice before this practice with the direct and no path. I had a practice before that that was guru related, which is a path I took to get a better understanding, this sounds crazy, of Christianity, because I was doing Bible studies 3 years ago, I guess, and that just seemed too literal. It was hurting me tremendously. It was like I was going through a lot, and the Bible was just making me run from it. I was trying so hard, listening and going to the instructor's house. He thought I needed special attention or something. So anyway, and I did, because I was needing more guidance at the time, and in a spiritual way. I was reaching for that. And that's what people do. They go from object reaching into spiritual reaching, and that's what we do until we don't need anything at all. When we finally don't need anything at all, it's beautiful. So we go through these lessons to not have lessons. We go through these, whatever, to not have them anymore. So I did the Christianity was beautiful the way I saw it, but the way I was being taught was totally contradictory from the way my heart felt it. And it's the way I felt it, but I couldn't put a tangibility in a expression of words of how the feelings would translate into an explanation of why I felt it different. So that was very hard to communicate inside me and outside of me. So I was so terribly confused, and so I went to another. I was captured by a guru, Paramahansa Yogananda. Self-realization. And that was beautiful. And so that rescued me from it actually saw the Bible the way I felt it. And so it operates a lot on beliefs too, and not experience. But it was beautiful. It helped me. It soothed my soul. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was so thankful. And then when I found the non-dual, and I went through other things too, I went through many, and I still do occasionally. I'll go pop in somewhere with the Buddhists or with the Rosicrucians or something, just because I like the conversation. The Baha'i religion. But when I got to Rupert Spira's philosophy on the direct and no path studies, that's a philosophy, and spiritually it just works right with the beliefs that I had, and it puts everything into an experiential understanding. And it is just woven. It is just exactly what I needed, apparently. So life has taken me through slowly because of my resistance. I resisted and kicked along the way. And that's what I did at work. I found myself resisting to things they were saying because it was messing with my identity and that hierarchy, seniority type thing. And it was messing with me with the jealousy thing. So I was just like all messed up and fighting, wanting to fight. I didn't fight. And so because I didn't fight, the emotion welled up, eyes, water, and I'm like, stop! Everything! Okay, let's put life on hold just for a minute, just a minute. And I know it was like, I'm sure, where people think you're absolutely crazy. Anyway, so I am here with that, and I meditated through the weekend, and that was glorious. The meditations that I had with self-realization fellowship, it's self-realization fellowship is a full name. They had to focus on something, and the Buddhists, and that's usually focusing on objects and going through these things so that to settle your mind, you're still using your mind and you're focusing on an object when you do those things. But in self-realization therapy, I really took it to heart, and so I would focus like they had me focus, and I would meditate, and it would be very good, but it would my mind could get quiet, and I could see myself focusing in a tunnel, and it was all beautiful, and all that seemed to be working out just fine. And now in my meditation recently, this weekend in particular, that's why I'm here now, is because it's been such a wonderful journey, letting go of the resistance and trying to come into the knowing of what's going on and truth of myself, so that I can be more one with life. Or I already am one with life. We all are one with life, but we take our little egos and make those outside and separate from the oneness that we truly are, and that's not where I want to be. So, in my meditations recently, I felt, this is really hard to say, but I don't even know how to say it, but I felt I didn't feel solid. I let go. There was a feeling of surrender, of letting go, surrender. I don't even know what word to use. I just know that in my meditations, it felt like my body dissipated in a way. It wasn't solid. It was, and it's even different from transparent. It felt like a puzzle puzzle where the pieces are all there and they're all in the picture, but all the pieces are separated, so there's space in between all the pieces. So I felt translucent in that way. That was the strangest, most beautiful feeling, because I felt so permeable. I don't know, but it was really a really great meditation, and I liked it. I did, because it's the first time I've ever felt that way during a meditation, where my solidity went away. So, and that was making me, that would, I would think, if I carry that it's elusive at this time, but if I hold that close to me, I can feel that it would be very accepting of all things around me, through me, whatever. So I wanted to share that. I don't really know how I'm sharing that, if it's shareable or lack, but I sure did feel like that there was a release of resistance and fighting, or that restriction, that hurt, that pain that I had from work truly dissipated during that meditation, to be not even there. Felt so resolved. And I can see why. And that's an experience through the meditation of that dissolving and what happened and how it all makes sense. I don't understand it, but I don't need to. I experienced it, and that was good, and I like it. So holding that close to me is a good isness to be. It just seemed like everything just is. It's like I was in touch with isness and not solid and separate. I don't know. Anyway, I had some notes here, and I don't know that I need them. I think this weird note at the end is interesting, and I like it. I broke. Yeah, I broke during that meditation. I broke at work, when you look at it that way, from your ego self, or whatever kind of self you want to call this, separate self, or Rupert calls it separate. I call it, I don't even know what I call it. I call it a thing. I'm a thing. Anyway, so I broke this thing at work. That was more like a breaking down. But in the meditation, I broke literally into pieces. And then I made a note saying I want to stay broken as much as possible. I'm not solid. I'm going to end with that. Good night.